as well. Ziggs now taken off the table by EG. They led it through the first 2 drafts. It wasn't picked at all in game number 1.
Wait,
APA piloted it in game 2. Jack's now banned away, so this is going to be the first game in the series we don't have
Did he
him
look
being
at
on one side or
Tristana,
the
you
other.
know, think it was Poppy, or like what's going on here? They were going for...
Poppy was also
It's really
banned in
weird.
both previous
Yeah,
games.
it's interesting though. Like first pick, that's shocking to me.
Well, it gives over the Trist to EG. They could very well lock in the Kaisa right next to it and have that as both their threats, and that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think that's bizarre to see Poppy go that high prio, first pick, just slamming it down. It is a flex pick, you know, in theory, of course, but I don't think it's really a Summit champ, so I'm not really expecting that whatsoever. I do feel like Trist has been so high value. When we give over Trist Kaisa, it just sets you up so well for team fighting, but it also allows Jojo to have a champion that can have individual agency, that can play through side lanes as well. Cassio, though, is really strong in the 1v1 into Tristana, and you have 2 champions now that really screw with your dashes because you have the Poppy W, you also have the Miasma there, so you can pull off ganks around mid lane. I think that's going to make things really hard for Jojo.
And I think it's trying to use APA's champion pool to its fullest. It's I kind of feel like this is TL trying to flex a little bit. Like, sure, we're going to do this like Tristana Kaisa blocker just so other teams are now scared to pick Tristana Kaisa in future rounds. Because I think if they're trying to go for the most simple 1-game 3-0, you just stick with your first pick Trist that's been working the entire series.
Well, we do get to see the APA Cassiopeia Classic. Also, Nautilus has been a second-round ban in both the previous games for the side of Evil Geniuses. That one's going to be picked up before those bans can come in this time for TL. But Ivern is locked in now for EG.
Yeah, and it's going to be Sheiden piloting it. They didn't end up making the jungle swap kind of like I was expecting just because they were already down 2-0.
Yeah.
It is worth mentioning that Pyosik has played that Nautilus jungle. He's had 2 plays on it. It could be Core playing, it could be him playing it, could be Summit playing Poppy top. So there is some chance of flexing. But as I said, because of the nature of the player, I don't expect Summit to be on Poppy.
Yeah.
He just isn't usually a tank guy.
I agree. I also just think because of how strong the Poppy is at ganking the Tristana in the mid lane, that you're unlikely to see it in the top lane.
All right, Ophelio's banned out by EG, looking to whittle down that 80 carry pool a little bit more since they've already got their marksman locked in. TL still left to pick theirs. Let's see what TL wants to focus on here. They already know the carries. They already know the jungler. Is it the top pool? No. Looking at supports instead, banning the Rakan away from Eyla.
May as well, even though it hasn't been able to win, you may as well make them as uncomfortable as possible. Rakan also a great pair with Kaisa, so wanting to make sure that Eyla and Unforgiven can't have a strong influence on this game.
Yeah, I'd also say EG is sorely lacking in hard engage, right? You went for Ivern. You know, is it going to be a tank top for Revenge, kind of circumvent that or try to, you know, fix that problem? It could be, but Rel is still available, so Kaisa Rel is still an option, but Nautilus taken off the table, Rakan taken off the table. Those are 2 really common pairings with Kaisa down in the bot lane to give you that guaranteed hard engage to try to set up those fights. They are going to be missing. Of course, you know, maybe you're worried about playing some of those dash champs, some of those engage champs because of the Poppy, because of the Miasma, but I feel like EG needs hard engage, and their options are getting very heavily limited down in the support role. So like you can go Alistar, you can go those types of champs, but it's a lot less reliable.
I feel like you gotta have Revenge on some kind of engage, some kind of tank.
No, there's no way. I don't think.
Don't get baited, Jatt.
I think Leona makes sense.
Elimination game, man. I'm ready for anything.
Well, we're going to get the Leona, so there is some of that hard engage you're talking about them needing.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's also, you know, you can look for that long range engage with the Solar Flare, throw it in the backline, try to target someone like the Cassio, lock them down, burst them down. That will be the goal, absolutely. We'll see where Yeon wants to go, though, as some of the kind of most common ADs have already been banned out. He could play a Varus game himself. He could play an Ashe game. I think Ashe would be pretty solid here. I doubt it would be the Vayne unless you really want to flex. I just don't think that really makes sense. Ezreal also a very defensive option, so you have a lot of damage here already with the Cassio, and likely going to have a pretty high damage pick for Summit in top lane, so I think Ezreal makes sense.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I'd say a couple years ago, Kaisa was seen as almost the de facto answer or counter pick to Ezreal, but this is probably the 3rd or 4th time this playoffs I've seen Ezreal intentionally picked into the Kaisa. I feel like it's just the curve of Kaisa's power now is weaker in the mid game, and that's where Ezreal actually has a chance to get ahead of the Kaisa, so it's flipped, I believe, in terms of what you pick into what.
Well, Ksante will be the play again here for Summit. They'll blind pick that. We'll see what Revenge wants to play into it. The Jax from last time has already been banned out earlier in the draft.
There's Copy Pasta,
There's
4,700.
Pasta again, 4,700.
That's all I need to see. It's burning my brain.
All right, the traditional Ksante counter pick in the Gwen locked in for Revenge here.
All right, well, they do have pretty good mixed damage. Obviously, you have physical damage from the Tristana. You have AP from Revenge, as well as Unforgiven. You have a strong team fight. And you have a champion here who does have a winning 1v1 against Summit. Pyosik will struggle to really answer if it's not early on in the game. If Gwen gets an item or two, it's going to be difficult to actually answer in that side lane. And it's also a champion that could theoretically give some problems here to Cassio. It can be difficult to actually land that Petrifying Gaze with the W, with that Shroud up for Gwen. It can cause some issues.
It's, I think, a really good pick into what TL has. It's just a matter of how the top lane has been performing this series, because if the Gwen falls behind, it's going to have literally no impact in the game. We were actually expecting them to put Revenge on some type of tank. Let's have the game be more about Joe.
By TL, this is a team that thought they could win the whole LCS, and they're about to get 6-0'd out of playoffs. So if you don't have a good start, I feel like it's going to be a total collapse.
Well, here we go. Either EG steps up now and gets it together, or their 2023 season will end with this game. Team Liquid grouped up on the backside of the red buff here just in case there's any kind of level 1 attempt. Sometimes that's the play that teams go for when their back's up against the wall and they need to find some sort of creative way to switch it up.
And with Ivern, a lot of teams will just walk in with Ivern and use that Q to check brushes to try to find a pick. And if you do that with a 5-stack brush, you are going to get killed. So they were expecting some sort of a level 1 TL full stacks, expecting that invade because of the Ivern. Of course, it is not coming, so not a big deal either way. We'll see what Sheiden can get done on this Ivern. Definitely a really strong pick, especially alongside these double AD carries. You have some pretty good peel. You have that protection.
Yeah, easy to go for items like the Ardent Sensor too. We know how support items are so cheap compared to traditional like tanky or damage counterparts. So double AD carry with Ardent Sensor, something like that, can give you a lot of value, a lot of mileage.
Yeah, and just to give some context on how dominant this series has been so far, if TL wins this game in under 27 minutes and 12 seconds, it becomes the fastest best of 5 in LCS history.
That's crazy.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it has been an absolute stomp thus far, right? So EG needs to get their footing. They do spot that. And I actually think this is smart for Pyosik, just looking for a little bit of an aggressive play through mid. He doesn't waste a lot of time there. He is, of course, spotted. And he's going to go for an invade on the enemy Raptors. So if APA can push, he could just go Raptors, 2 Raptors. If there was any sort of a, kind of mispositioning from Jojo, maybe you can punish. But at the end of the day, he's going to be able to steal those Raptors away that were channeled on early by the Ivern. So Sheiden's going to try to answer by going over to the enemy red. He can smite steal that and then try to go back up to his blue quadrant and take those away. But it really sucks when these camps that you've channeled on get invaded on and taken away. So Pyosik having an early aggressive answer, and he can do this because top lane has such presence in that lane. You can look up towards top side.
True.
It is Summit who has Revenge all the way locked under his lane, so it's not like Sheiden can really contest this.
Yeah, tough stuff for Sheiden to have to deal with early on, but hey, you love seeing that coordination from Team Liquid, recognizing the advantages of the solo lanes here. Flash into the charge. There's the follow-up damage from APA, but it's not quite enough. Jojo can still flash away and survive, but that's going to force him to reset immediately.
Yeah, that is pretty rough there. Pyosik just comes in from behind, commits the flash, so it has to be a traded flash there from Jojo. And again, this is a very difficult 1v1 for Tristana. You can't actually look for these aggressive plays, because if you leap forward with the rocket jump, he just drops miasma on you and just starts trading, and you're going to get smoked in a lot of those trades. You can also just fish with Qs. If you ever connect, you're going to win those trades. They're on bot.
They want to go after Core and Yeon. As Sheiden approaches from behind, there's the root caller. Yeon blocks it because he can cleanse it, and that guarantees that both Team Liquid players can get away. They easily walk out of that one at the cost of Core's flash and Yeon's cleanse.
That's actually so sick by Yeon to E and instantly cleanse the root caller, because that was the one window Sheiden had to kind of get back in this game. Now Pyosik going top for Revenge.
Revenge could be in some serious trouble here. Pyosik coming around. The Antofo strikes connect. Snip, snip. Ain't gonna do it. Summit claps him. First blood, Team Liquid.
It happens again. Revenge with the counter pick gets first blooded on the top side. Pyosik has been so active going through mid, forcing the flash there, getting up to top side, invading that jungle, now getting up towards that top lane, getting the flash off Revenge and killing him. TL feeling great about their start in this one.
And I think that's one of the reasons why Yeon and Cora avoiding that gank was so crucial as they go for another fight.
Yeah, they're ready for the 2v2 now. Yeon getting stunned up with a shield. Daybreak, Unforgiven with the flash. Void Seeker gets the damage. EG's on the board.
That could be the thing that keeps EG in this series, because as disastrous as top lane has been, if they can get the Kaisa going, it's huge. Getting that kill is the first action they've had bottom lane all series.
Well, and look at the Ezreal, already 10 CS down, so if they can actually crash that wave, Core was trying to hold it, so I'm not sure. I want to see bot lane. I don't really care too much about the mid lane right now, because I want to see if they were able to actually crash that wave, but looks like they were not fully able to. It is enough, so it is going to bounce. So the wave will end up being good here for AG. Yeon will be able to pick up a couple CS, but that is massive. It's going to be a really big advantage there for the Kaisa, who completes the Noon Quiver off of that kill. Really well played. Looked like a W flash from Unforgiven there, as there was 4 plasma stacks. Eyla got back in with that ignite on him, and there was no cleanse for Yeon because of that earlier play. So a massive boost of momentum there for EG. Now they're going to look for APA with Hex Flash over the wall.
Ayla's ready to try to make another one, but APA fast on the flash to get himself out of there.
Yes.
Important to note that his flash is now pretty much exactly at the halfway point of Jojo's flash. So here in a couple of minutes, once Jojo's got one back, they might try to be able to make another move here onto the Cassiopeia, as Pyosik still only level 3 on this Poppy from the amount of time he spent bouncing back and forth covering lanes.
And I think that's fine. I mean, he is down 2 camps, you know, about that to Sheiden, but at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters, because he's created a lot of action here. You know, forced the flash mid lane, got the first blood for his top laner top lane. Yes, he is behind, but look at the CS top lane. Which would you rather have? You know, the Gwen be behind or the Poppy be behind? I think if you're TL, you're going to be really happy about the action that he's created. He's had to give up some of his own economy to make that happen, but well worth it.
And he's given APA such a good spot in this mid lane. It's the Cassio pick to try and shut down all the mobility of EG along with the Poppy. The Soul lanes are in really good positions. It's really just that Kaisa they have to watch out for. And again, Pyosik just kind of giving up his own experience to allow Summit some safety in crashing this wave.
Yep, Shaiden's hanging around nearby because he knows that they want to try to turbo tilt Revenge all the way out of this game. Sheiden flashing back towards the turret to try to keep himself alive. Summit still got level 6. He goes for the all-out, but he didn't get the angle that he wanted. He was hoping it would be close enough to take him to the terrain. Now Jojo's coming up. Revenge is low, but he's got the shield. Summit and Pyosik still walking away. Jojo's not going to make it to the fight in time. Importantly, though, the turret was still firing on the minions as Revenge and Sheiden were chasing after Summit, so I do believe he was missed. Revenge is going in for the needlework, but Summit's flash gets him away.
Yeah, going to be able to survive. Back to bot side, though. A little bit of a trade there. Ayla taking the worst of it. But this is something, a mistake that I feel like EG has made a couple times. In their last series against C9, I recall a very similar situation where Shaiden's trying to bait the dive and is waiting so long that they actually end up getting punished. Nice hook interrupting the Zenith blade.
Beautifully done, and now Eyla gets punished. Jojo got a kill on APA back in the mid lane at the same time, but Team Liquid gets the 2v2 outplay thanks to an awesomely timed dredge line from Core there.
And Core's been on point with that all game long. On the earlier gank, he interrupted the Zenith blade with his own hook as well. Beautifully timed by him, but Jojo getting the solo kill here onto APA. That is massive. They need this kind of a game here from Jojo. Let's see how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, APA lands the Q, which makes him want to go all in, but the ult for ult by Jojo was so well timed. I do have to just commend CoreJJ for this hook interaction against Leona, though. He will actually just go practice that exact interaction to make sure he has the timing right so he can win both sides of these Leona versus Nautilus matchups. There's a similar interaction with the Leona stun as Nautilus Qs in to prevent the Nautilus from being able to auto-attack as well, that he just grinds so that he's very polished in both sides of the Nautilus versus Leona matchup.
I love that, man. CoreJJ is such a student of the game, making sure that he's always maximizing everything that he can in terms of these matchups and this knowledge to just try to create these edges. It's a 2-2 game, but it's a 600 gold lead for Team Liquid. A big part of that is going to be your top lane once again. Summit not only having the kill advantage, but also plus 21 there on the CS. The biggest farm difference in the game is mid and bot are both only about 3 apart. Not even 2 full camps difference in the jungle. Pyosik and Core trying to secure this Scuttle Crab here. Pyosik has to flash away. The Scuttle Crab is secured. The enemy flash is down. EG's going to be happy with that one.
Yeah, you can see on the bot side, Yeon getting pushed out in that 1v1. Unforgiven went aggressive with his ulti there. You know, that is, you were talking about it, Jatt, how this matchup used to be considered a really tough one for Ezreal. It's because in these 1v1s, Kaisa can go aggressive, does not get the kill, does not get a summoner, but does push him back. and we'll see if that results in any sort of a farm advantage. At the very least, it's going to be the Dragon, but now Pyosik is behind. Oh, the buffer timing there on the W was massive.
Yeah, that was huge.
If he was locked, I think he could have died there.
Yeah, otherwise Pyosik just hex flashes over the wall, walks up to him with a steadfast presence. If nothing else, they at least force the flash.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think if he comes over the wall, if you're stuck in that miasma, you get tackled back into CoreJJ, you could get locked down, and now they're trying to zone Yeon off of the CS because of that advantage that Unforgiven got in the 1v1. Sheiden's down here, and they know it, so they will be able to hold him off of these 2 waves. That is a pretty nice advantage, and you can see Jojo cheating down towards bot side, so they're trying to really play more towards bot.
Yeah.
And getting the Kaisa an advantage is not only huge for Kaisa, but also to keep Yeon and CoreJJ kind of trapped under this turret. It really limits the amount of playmaking TL can have if Core's stuck bot lane. And Yeon being this far behind really will matter if he's ever isolated with the Kaisa later in the game. You can't fall that far behind in the curve of the matchup because Kaisa will just all in the Ezreal throughout the game.
And it should be AP Kaisa. I mean, maybe he's going to go, full AD again, but like with Tristana, I don't think you need to. I think you can go AP, and I do feel like you're going to have a lot more agency. The ability to poke, the ability to prod, especially on that 3-item power spike is massive. So I'd like to see Unforgiven do that, and they've set him up well to succeed.
Yeah, and this is the type of play that I did want to see out of EG if they're going to come back in this series, is minimal attention to top lane. Hey, top lane's bad, but it's not that bad. And in that case, you can just play mid to bot, try and have Jojo and Unforgiven get the momentum in the game, and then they'll still have a chance. 700 gold down at 10:30 with kills on both of their carries is still a winnable game state.
Jojo turning his back to the Cassiopeia so he doesn't get stunned up, but now Pyosik's coming over the wall. He goes for the tackle, but Jojo's got the flash to disjoint it in time. He'll escape, but that summoner spell is down now. No ulti, only 1/3 HP, so he's going to need a recall.
Yeah, well played on the flash there from Jojo, but again, it's this pressure towards mid lane. Pyosik has been relentless, and he's going to be back up towards top side. Sheiden is there, and they spot him.
Once again, Sheiden covering for revenge. He knows that Team Liquid wants to try to just continue beating on this top lane, and he's not going to allow him to find these dives like they would want. Summit still farming some plates pretty effectively, and Tofo Strike's going to yeet revenge under the brush.
They have no damage, though. There's no threat here, I feel like.
Oh, there's a root caller. We got
Eyla as
Daisy
well.
and Leona, but it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, that is rough. I mean, you're investing your support roam and your ultimate here on Ivern to try to get a little bit of pressure, but they have no damage. And now the flash committed.
Yeah,
I don't really know what that was.
Same.
Yeah, not 100% sure, but you know what?
Happens.
We'll figure it
Looks
out.
like they're sweating.
Pyosik has a little bit of time left on the Herald. If the spectator is accurate, sometimes it gets a little goofy with the Herald timer, but that Herald does look like it's going to expire soon, so I would expect Team Liquid to try to just drop it.
Yeah, they could just drop it mid if they want to try to get some gold here for APA. Make sure he is still sitting in a good position. And again, Sheiden going to be challenged at these Raptors. Pyosik trying to harass him as much as he possibly can.
All right, Pyosik having to run away there with a steadfast presence because so many players were coming to collapse on him, so Team Liquid can just clear out this wave. Still about a 1,000 gold difference between the teams here, so significantly closer game than it was previously, much to EG's happiness and relief.
Yeah, but EG's bouncing their pressure between mid and bot pretty well right here. Pyosik really wants to drop that Herald, but he's just going to die.
Yeah, he just gets jumped on 4v1. He stays alive for an extra second, long enough at least to make it a 1-for-1 as Jojo gets traded back. Revenge and Summit have both teleported into the mix. Nothing else to come of it as both sides disengage.
Yeah, Summit with that quick TP, able to lock down Jojo again, got caught in the miasma, can't get out of there. They do get the kill onto Pyosik though. The Herald has not yet expired, so I mean, honestly, the Spectre client is just really buggy with it, so we'll have to see exactly how much time he does have. But here it is one more time. Pyosik just kind of walking through mid, disrespecting the play a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe didn't realize that Unforgiven had actually roamed up. He should have known, though, because they had a ward down in the river you could actually see in the replay on the minimap. So should have known that he was there. Comes in with the killer instinct, is the additional damage they need to be able to finish him off.
Meanwhile, back to live. Yeon is the target over and over and over, and it's Unforgiven, grabbing his second kill of the game.
And all these plays are really based off this Kaisa being ahead of the Ezreal. The fact that they made that play in the mid lane was because he shoved up and moved, and then when he goes back, he gets the solo kill, but Herald finally used top.
They're summoning up the Herald. It'll kill the turret. Then they're going to follow it up with a kill on Revenge. APA has even joined to guarantee they got enough damage to do it. There's your charge. Turret falls. They're going to get the full 5 plates of value plus 1.6 thousand gold. The lead for Team Liquid.
I mean, EG are making plays happen elsewhere, but top lane is such a disaster again that it's going to be really, really hard. I mean, for Revenge to have any effect in this game, I think it's going to be difficult at this point. He's down very far in the farm. They lose the tower. He even burns his flash and his ulti there. to clear out the wave, but it doesn't matter because the Herald is still there. So, you know, I don't know what Revenge is going to be able to accomplish in this spot. You know, if someone just goes towards Force of Nature second, you're not threatening this guy until like 3 or 4 items, and that's going to be probably after the game ends.
Yeah, I completely agree. Summon's a big problem, but it's a matter of if that lead can transition to
now
others.
hold on. Jojo's in some serious danger up here as Pyosik found a good angle on it, but not quite good enough to get the entire wall bang, so APA could not secure the kill.
Yeah, and this game is in a really interesting spot because, yes, 2,300 gold advantage just for Summit, but Jojo is even gold with APA, and specifically Unforgiven is 1,400 gold ahead of Yeon. So even though it is a 1,700 gold lead, this is those tricky Summit games that we'd have throughout the regular season where, like, yes, he's really far ahead, but the rest of the team isn't. So how does Summit actually win the game with this lead? He's very good at getting his own advantage and pushing that, but since the rest of his team isn't ahead, this, I think, is one of the truest tests for whether TL is improved as a team.
Yeah, and we'll see if he's going to be able to accomplish it. You know, I think from this position, with Revenge not threatening him, he can just continue split pushing and basically play it like a side laner, right? Just go up, you know, use the Demolish procs on the turrets, use those Sheen procs on the turrets, try to chip away at them. And in the 5v5, he can really threaten Jojo and Unforgiven, who already have a very difficult job with Miasma plus the Poppy W. So I feel like TL's in a really good spot thus far, but we'll see if EG can, you know, make those big plays, kind of change things around.
APA sent up topside to answer Jojo's push onto the tier 1 turret. Pyosik will shadow him up here. He walks over top of a ward. They're going to see that now. Sheiden and Eyla still hanging around. The Ivern and Leona Goon squad constantly trying to provide the CC to make these picks. APA forced to flash there to avoid the engage.
Of the 3 games, this is probably the best state EG's been in.
Yeah.
Early game 1, they were looking really good before it started to go.
Before the Aatrox Jack stuff started happening.
Yeah. But I agree. I mean, they're in a decent spot, and they have a strong composition. There's composition skills really well. You know, all 3 of their carries do. So they definitely have opportunities. I just think it's going to be tough.
Summit's coming in from the side. He's ready to go for the in-game for the Pathmaker here at the very start, but he goes all out real fast. Has to flash away, lost too much of his own HP. He barely survives, only 200 health left. So Team Liquid's play goes a little awry.
A good early flash there from Jojo does help to keep him safe as it forces Summit further into the team than he actually wanted to go. You know, Jojo has the shift completed, is going to be AP Kaisa. You know, Nasher's likely coming up next here, but they're going to TP in towards mid. Looks like they want to make a play towards Herald. They get pushed through mid. They can shove up here. Jojo's trying to get that top lane shoved out, but I don't really think there's going to be any sort of a challenge here around that Herald. With Jojo having no flash, it would be really tough, and Revenge is just not going to be able to contribute really much of anything.
Rift Herald started up by TL. Jojo's still hanging around. He's on top of his own control ward, so he knows they don't see him. Nobody else is in the neighborhood except for Sheiden.
I think he wants to kill APA. If APA goes for another wave, he would try for a fast play, but Core moved up, and it scared him off from going for it, so he's just going to clear the wave instead. I think EG might end up having a lot of opportunities here. The double static shift they have on Tristana and Kaisa allows them to really push these waves frequently and bounce back and forth between lanes.
Plus, Kaisa just completed the Nashor's Tooth. That's the 2 fully completed items to just the Trinity Force on the Ezreal. Yeon significantly behind in this marksman matchup, still stacking towards having that tier all the way done. Pyosik guarantees the secure in his own blue buff that Eyla had an attempt there to try to steal away. As the recall from Sheiden, I don't think that ward is actually in the brush.
No, it's outside it. It's just outside it, I think. A little bit tough to tell, to be honest, but
yeah. So what's the recipe for success here for EG to translate this into a win and keep their season alive?
I mean, I think they have to keep making plays with their 4 members and just buy time for Revenge to farm and become somewhat relevant. I think if I'm Revenge, you're so far behind, I don't think you go for a Nashor's or side lane build. I think you just go Zhonya's second and try to be relevant in the 5v5.
Yeah.
Try to force back the carries to buy space for Jojo and Unforgiven, because to me, that is the key for EG. If Jojo and Unforgiven have space, they can carry a 5v5. But on the other side, if Summit and Pyosik get on top of them, if Miasma's dropped on top of them, they're just going to die like this.
And there it is. Pyosik tackles him right back into more of that poison spit, and that's another kill going the way of Team Liquid. Up 2,000 gold now, but in the meantime, Evil Geniuses secured the Drake, so they've got a 2-0 lead on those.
And that's the kind of stuff I think that can't happen if EG wants to win, because they need to find ways to just keep Trist and Kaisa together. That way, if even Summit walks in, the DPS of those two can just get so high that they can just kill whoever's in front of them. I think, for me, Revenge just needs to survive side lanes. That's kind of it. Like, just don't let them win the game through killing you, and then allow Jojo and Unforgiven to do as much damage as possible in fights.
Sheiden had a little bit of a concern there that Revenge might get dosed, so he walks down to shadowing, but nothing ends up happening.
Oh, they're TPing, they're trying to make a play.
We've got EG
Jojo
trying to collapse on these guys. Ayla goes in, but now they're going to try to focus him instead. APA under a lot of pressure. He's going to get cut to pieces. Unforgiven finds the first kill as Pyosik has to flash away. Yeon does not do enough damage to get a whole lot back. They'll at least get Daisy, but nothing else. Summit's not involved in the fight. He didn't have a TP to be able to join up himself, so now he's got to hoof it up through the river.
I mean, EG's trying to make a play, but at the end of the day, they got the tier 1 mid, they got the tier 1 bot that they TP'd away from, and they got a charge on the tier 2 as well, so almost took that down. So EG needs more. They're pushing.
They're going to get the tier 1 turret here. The man advantage, the health advantage is enough to hard force that one, but it's still a plus 2,000 gold lead for Team Liquid as EG takes their recalls.
That was a really good play by EG. Even though they were giving up turrets, they found access to APA, and I think if they can continue to do that, keep his flash on cooldown, they're going to have a much stronger chance in this game. It's just, look at the approach from Unforgiven as well. Being able to just kind of fly in the sides of fights when he wants to. The more 5v4s they could make happen without Summit being there, like those are free fights if they're able to get those.
Yeah, I mean, they were obviously hoping to get even more. Had the fight gone a little bit better, they get a couple more kills. They could have snowballed that into potentially a couple towers and really kind of gotten the most from that, but it was a good angle. I have to say, Jojo is so good with his buffers on the rocket jump there. You know, buffered perfectly on CoreJJ's ult to actually just be able to jump straight out of that stun. And now Jojo jumping forward, has the Ivern shields, just trying to poke and prod here with that static shiv. You can see that up on the top side, Pyosik is just lying in wait around APA. Yeah. He's saying whoever comes to actually try to answer APA in the side lane, they can pick off because there's so much movement denial between the Steadfast Presence and the Miasma.
Yep. Root Caller over the wall just aggro's Baron to make him mad at Pyosik, do a little bit of poke through the objective itself. This CoreJJ doesn't want to walk too far forward with this warding. They still don't exactly know where EG is, but if Core just face checks something, could be an easy pick. Revenge coming over the wall here to back up Jojo as Pyosik's steadfast presence gives him enough speed to not be caught out by the Root Caller. EG defending their jungle well. They don't want to allow Team Liquid to control more of this map.
It's also worth noting it's going to be Rage Blade here for Unforgiven, which we haven't been seeing much of at all, but there are 3 frontliners here on the TL side. And so I think his read is, I can't actually dive into the backline against Poppy, against Cassio. I'm mostly just going to be hitting frontline, so he is going for this max DPS build here. As EG pushing up on top side, they need that wave to get in for Jojo to get there.
Yeah, Jojo's walking up, but he had to back up for a step because he was tanking the turret aggro. Now he's ready to hop forward. Pyosik's your target. The bomb's on his head, and Pyosik's dead. Easy
go Baron.
There for EG as the enemy jungler's down, and Baron is the call. Summit is still in the bottom lane. He's got his teleport.
Their Baron damage is so fast that they're forcing this, but Summit is very strong.
Summit's coming in. Team Liquid in a 4v5. Baron at about 4,000 HP. Nautilus engaged. Summit's ready to go in as Jojo has to hop back out. Ayla's the target here at the start. Revenge trying to use the mid. A massive ulti from APA. Stuns multiple targets. EG's on the run. They got the shutdown back on the Summit. But what are they going to do now? APA cut down by Revenge. Yeon, he's too weak. And Team Liquid are aced.
EG come up with their first huge play of the game. They will be pushed off the Baron. They're too old for that. But they can base, they can get back out on the map, and finally signs of life here as the 2 marksmen for EG are able to barely stay alive and make it happen in this fight.
This all started with the pick on a Pyosik, which allows them to start Baron, but then it's just about how much damage can they do to the front line. Unforgiven and Jojo just try and turn and burn Summit. Even though both of them get hit by that Cassio ultimate, it is just not enough. Unforgiven shields at the end of it, dumps enough damage down onto APA that Revenge can finish it, and then also finishes Yeon 2 levels above him. They're back on the Baron.
Back on the Baron as a teleport is cast by Team Liquid. True Shot Barrage finds the Baron already at 3,000 HP. Sheiden comes over the wall with the Root Caller. The Baron's secured. EG gets it without a fight from TL, but now they're ready to try to follow up for something after. Ayla's here on the front line, but Leona is that tanky support. Now Summit's stuck on the front. Yeon has to back away, and the Fed Ksante flashes in retreat. Team Liquid thought they could get something, and EG give him a punch in the mouth.
And now TL is so low that EG might be able to just push him in and go for the Cloud Drake, putting them on soul point as well. EG has used their strong carries to pull themselves back in this game.
I mean, I've got to say, Unforgiven played that fight around Baron so damn well. Really getting the maximum amount of damage out that he could. And Jojo, again, had another buffer on an ulti from CoreJJ just every single time he's been able to get it. Now they get to tier 2 mid. They're going to be able to have that push up on top side. Moving over towards this dragon, looking to take that as well. We'll see if they kind of got a little bit greedy going for the tier 2 first, but they should be able to secure this. And Revenge has got to be getting close to his second item.
And man, Yeon has just been invisible this game, whereas Unforgiven has been the X factor for EG. That's what's different this game compared to games 1 and 2. The impact that Kaisa has been able to have, the advantage that he has over the Ezreal, both in this original matchup in bottom lane where he was constantly posing a threat when everybody else was roaming around, and now in the team fight, his presence is just so much greater.
I mean, it's massive, right? This Kaisa pick has done so much for them. Finally going that AP build, and Jojo getting confident, but I will say there is an opportunity because TL.
Oh, Summit's all aggressive. Jojo jumping back away. Rocket jump on Summit there. He goes back in for the third hit of the Intofo strikes, but Ayla's there. It's a team game. 2v1. They end up getting the kill. Jojo's taking that one. He recalls, then immediately teleports right back with full HP to continue to push.
Yeah, and they can just try to clean up even more turrets here. They're going to be pushing in for this tier 2 without Summit. He's strongest member really for TL at this point. APA and Yeon are miles behind. Pyosik does have a bit of an angle, and it is hard to siege into the miasma to try to step forward. It's really, really risky here.
It's also hard to fight back when there's that bush there. So every time Jojo steps out to hit the turret, he can just dance right into that bush. Team Liquid's going to be completely blind, so EG can kind of just take their time killing this turret.
Evil Geniuses need a little bit more damage to take it out. That last Baroned up cannon minion not going to survive long enough to do it. Pyosik's going in. He wants to find the engage on Jojo. If they can kill the enemy Trist here at the very start, they're going to get a shot, and the miasma locks them down. Now Summit's ready to join up. Ayla's the next target, but Revenge is going to break the base at the same time. Sheiden and Unforgiven are just trying to buy a little bit more time if they can, as Revenge has the wave, he's got the damage, and he's got the mid lane inhib down.
Yeah, they will get that mid lane inhib, which is nice for EG, but at the same time, it's a good pick on bot side. They punish Jojo. He's missing his flash. That was that kind of window of opportunity that TL really wanted to capitalize on. The flashes are going to be coming back soon. Unforgiven has his cleanse back now as well. So the next fight is going to be that much harder here for TL. But it's a good swing, and they do get a kill. Revenge should finally have a second item when he does base. He's going towards the Nashers. Didn't decide to go for more of that kind of combat 5v5 build with his zonies early.
Nearly a third item completed on Yeon's Ezreal. Now you can see the last Whisper, expecting that one to be done hopefully here in the next few minutes for TL, because again, the difference between these AD carries has been so huge. Yeon having that cleanse, once he has the flash back up and he's at full playmaking capacity, I feel like Team Liquid either has to start off by killing him or you just don't fight at all.
Absolutely, and I think this could be a huge bounce back for EG if they can close this game, but we have to remember TL is up 2-0. If EG loses this game, season completely over. TL has that forgiveness, so to speak, in this game, but I gotta say, this game does speak to some of Team Liquid's weaknesses as a team this season. Summit got massively far ahead, 3,000 gold ahead of Revenge, but the way EG has come back in this game is just by avoiding Summit. Summit's in a side lane, the team is in an approachable position, and EG is just getting numbers advantage fights with Summit not there, or when Summit does fight, he's on his own, and there's 3 or 4 people from EG there. So this is the type of game plan that I think EG needs to replicate in the rest of this game and in the series. Revenge is going to fall behind, just accept it, focus on Jojo and Unforgiven, and attacking the rest of TL.
Yeah, and Jojo, I mean, was able to get that solo kill in mid lane on APA. That was big, but Unforgiven, I think, was the big surprise, because Unforgiven, normally when he has a good game, it's just only about the 5v5s, right? He's not known for his lane dominance. Eyla and him, generally just play more passively, farm it up, and try to perform in those 5v5s, but they were able to find those opportunities to really punish Yeon, and that's what I think really opened the game up for him and allowed him to succeed in the 5v5s in this one. So now working towards his 4th item, going towards Void Staff. The BT's already done for Jojo, so these are some pretty big power spikes for both of the carries. And TL, I will say though, has really good playmaking.
Yeah.
And because there is no cleanse on Jojo, there's always options. We'll see how good Sheiden can be with the Mikhails that he's holding on to. Because you do want to try to really focus on down Jojo, but he's been so good with his rocket jump buffers, and now with the Mikhails behind him, going to be that much more difficult.
Also, that stopwatch in his inventory. Team Liquid's going to need a very, very good engage to have any kind of a chance. It's 40 seconds until the next Drake spawns. EG also commands that lead 3-0. It'll be Cloud Soul for them if they can secure this.
And Unforgiven is like a raid boss right now. Void Staff completed, level 16, 700 gold bounty. I think even though you're thinking maybe, hey, if we can pick Tristana or Gwen, that's a squishy we can take down. I feel like if they don't kill Kaisa, they don't win.
Yeah.
Because of how much damage he's going to be pumping out in this final fight.
The Kaisa is absolutely unreal right now for EG. As Team Liquid forced back out of mid lane, they're going to go in on CoreJJ. He's got to try to get back out as Revenge is coming in from the side here with a needlework. They use the Poppy ulti to try to eject EG back out. Revenge is unafraid. Summit's got to fall back off to the side as Revenge finds 5 needles into Yeon and forces him to flash away now too. APA getting chased down by Jojo. EG won't get any kills, but they chase Team Liquid out of Summoner's Rift.
And now they're kind of debating. You can see they were heading towards the Baron, but Jojo now going towards the Dragon, so they're going to try to do both here. This could get risky. There's TP coming in to try to answer this Baron play. It's Summit, and now APA is coming too.
The double TP, but Pyosik has been caught back in the mid lane. They've killed the enemy jungler. EG found a Christmas present wrapped and waiting in the mid lane.
The game has just become a little bit of chaos because of these 2 big objectives. EG going for the big one right now.
This might be the game right here. Jojo goes in. APA is locked down. The stasis will only buy him 2.5 seconds as Revenge will get the job done. Jojo gets the shutdown, and Unforgiven is jumping in to guarantee that Summit's gone too. Yeon cannot play this one 1v5, and evil geniuses are going to march it down mid and keep this series alive.
EG with a huge bounce back, and look at Unforgiven. Massive lead in lane, unkilled, huge Kaisa in this game. EG stays alive.
EG getting it done as Yeon and Pyosik can't do anything but watch the Nexus fall. 30 minutes in, 15-9. EG's on the board.
Such a confidence booster as well there for EG. Finally being able to get some things working in their favor in this one. Unforgiven, I agree, Jatt really was the X factor. The guy that needed to step up here was able to do so. Jojo had a really good game as well. The Ivern, I think, worked great with their composition. Eyla found some good engages. And EG now finally gets their first win in playoffs. They got swept by Cloud9. They have a win on the board, but it still has to be 2 more back-to-back wins here. And I think that, when